Hi, welcome to History 101. Congratulations on finding the link. That is what we'll be doing for every video. I'll be giving you a link in the assignments, and then you just need to click on it a couple times, and this will take you to YouTube. So welcome again to History 101, the history of the United States. Okay, so what we're going to be doing in this first video is I'm going to be just introducing the class like I kind of just did, tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the syllabus and also about Blackboard. And then what we're going to do is we're going to play a few games on how to do history. A lot of my students come in from history classes in high school where they did a lot of memorization. And that is not at all what we do in college. We do arguments. So I'm going to be, again, we're going to be playing a couple games. Since you're by yourself, you're going to have to play by yourself. But that will be your assignments today. So hopefully you'll enjoy those. So just a little bit on who I am. I was born in Manhattan Beach. I went to UCLA my first year. I transferred to UCSB in the early 80s, so I was able to make up my own major, and I did history, English, and sociology. Then I worked for 5 years, and then I went back for a master's in medieval history and American history. I do have a credential in adulthood from Dominguez. Just a few more things you can read on your own, but just this is a little bit of my work background. I have been teaching at El Camino for 20 years and at Dominguez for 8 years. Teach American, Ancient, and Modern. I do have 2 kids, 17 and 19, that have been doing all online classes just like you have for the past year. So I do ask them, for input and whatever, and hear what's going on with their classes. I'm what's called a social cultural historian. So I definitely do war and politics, but what my interests are is women's history, ethnic history, popular culture. So for example, at the end of this class, like the 50s and 60s, and even the 20s, 30s, 40s, we'll be talking a lot about entertainment. So this is my picture. This is in Norway, where I'm half Norwegian, half Jewish. So we visited our family in Norway. We have a family farm we've had for 300 years. So this was when we got to go visit that. All right, so this is the syllabus part of it, and you can see my name, Kirsten Resnick. Please always email if you have any questions. You have to email, though, through your CSUDH email. Never, ever, ever through your personal email, and I will do the same. Office hours, I say officially 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., but really I am online all the time. I also teach, like I said, at El Camino, so I have lots of students and lots of stuff to grade. So I'm usually available 8 a.m. to about 6 p.m. Monday through Sunday. More Monday through Saturday, but yeah, Monday through Sunday too. So class sections meet online, just like I wrote you guys. Readings and assignments will be on Blackboard. You don't have to buy a book, so you're welcome. And there'll all be PowerPoint videos, which will be on YouTube, and their audits will be given out on Blackboard. So online assignments equals 85% of your student's grade, and your analytical paper equals 15%. So Blackboard will keep track of your grade. If you do the work, you should be fine. If you decide to just skip out a few weeks here and there, probably won't pass. So really recommend doing the work and doing it on time too. Once it's late, it's half credit. Okay, so normal classroom experience, not online, requires 3 hours per week for lecture plus additional hours of classwork to accomplish. For this course, I'd put aside about 4 hours per week if you want to earn an A. I give out plenty of A's, but again, I don't know, for some reason with all my online students, they like to put stuff off to the very end, and again, if it gets past midnight, then it's half credit. So really recommend, doing it on time, doing it early. Remember, Wi-Fi issues, I do not count those. If you have not started early enough, you have a week to do these, and you have a Wi-Fi issue, I can't, give you an excuse for that. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do is take some notes, please. And these are going to be some of the skills you're going to be learning in this class. So it's not memorizing dates, okay? It's gathering and synthesizing information, analyzing evidence, building an argument, constructing a comparative analysis, and evaluating perspective and prejudice. So it seems fancy, but what we're going to find out at the end of this video is that you actually do those things every day. So another thing I need you to write down is this acronym IDEAS. So when I was at UCSB, I was able to be a teaching assistant and had my own students for 3 years, and I came up with this acronym on how to approach a history question. So you will be doing this pretty much every single question that I ask you. Okay, so I don't expect that you know the answer to this, but the question I'm asking you now is why and how did the stories of the Spanish conquistadors affect the Virginia colonists dealing with the Native Americans? Absolutely do not expect you to know this. By the time we get to Virginia, yes, you should, but let's use this question as a sample to figure out how to answer a question. So the first thing is, what are the question words? Well, they're why and how, right? And when you answer a why question, let's say somebody says, why do you go to Dominguez, or why do you have your major? The first word out of your mouth is usually because. So if you could write that down, why and then because. And then how is going to be such as. So how does it work out? What is the examples? What are the examples? We're going to do an activity on this later. Next thing is to define your terms. So for example, the term conquistadors is not really something we use every single day. Now, what happens a lot of times in history answers is maybe I would ask on an exam or something, and we're not having any exams, but just in case if we were, I would say, you know, how is manifest destiny important in American history? And you would say, manifest destiny is important. If it wasn't for manifest destiny, we wouldn't be the United States. Manifest destiny is so important. Okay, well, that person doesn't know what manifest destiny means. So you have to define your terms. That's D. E is evidence or examples. So what we're going to be doing in this class, and make sure you write this down, is we're using primary sources. Okay, so when you got a textbook in high school, or me as a secondary source, a textbook is a secondary source, so am I, unless we get to the 1970s when I actually was there. So a primary source is something that was written or a picture from that original time period. So it has to be drawn during that time period or written during that time period. So these are not going to be the easiest sources, and but that is what our examples are. That's what our evidence is. And every single answer should have a short quote, not a long quote. I hate three-line quotes. Short quote, and then we'll talk about what you do with that. So the evidence here maybe would be a letter from a Spanish conquistador, or a Native American impression, or maybe the Virginia colonists, maybe a diary. So then after you have your evidence, excuse me, you're going to analyze or tie in your evidence. So sometimes people will just give me evidence and then they don't tell me anything else. Well, they could have just, picked something out with their eyes closed. What analyze means is tell me how that evidence works. So for example, let's say it's a letter from Columbus saying that the Native Americans, are treating him like a god. Okay, well, how does that analyze or tie in? Now, let me go through and I'll explain this answer. So we're going to talk about the Virginia colonists. We're going to talk about the New England colonists. So the Virginian were in the south and the New England were in the north. And that's going to be a big theme for the first half of our class, north versus south, right? And that's going to lead to the Civil War. Well, the Virginia colonists, they came here, think about the south. What were they famous for? Slavery, right? So that's not going to happen right away. But Virginia colonists are known for being pretty lazy and pretty selfish and pretty greedy, as you can tell, because they use slaves, right? A lot. So when they came here, a lot of them just wanted to make money quick. And they'd heard these stories from 100 years before about these guys like Cortez and Pizarro, who the natives thought that they were gods. So the natives gave them all kinds of gold. Well, the Virginia colonists, being selfish, greedy, and lazy, is going to think that's fantastic. I love that, right? So if you say, okay, as we can see in Columbus's, letter, or Cortez's letter, let's do him instead, that the natives think I'm a god. How's that going to affect it? Well, that affects the Virginia colonists because, and actually we'll get to the answer in just a second, okay? All right, but you're explaining out how this evidence helps your argument. Okay, last thing before we get to the answer is significance. You have to tie in with the big theme. So like I said, we're going to do Virginia versus New England. New England's all about religion, right? The Puritans, the Pilgrims. Virginia's all about slavery. So you want to tie it into those big themes, all right? So you can see it's not memorization. It's all critical thinking. So for example, let's look at the answer, and then we'll get into some fun stuff in just a minute. But the question again, why and how did the stories of the Spanish conquistadors affect the Virginia colonists dealing with the Native Americans? Okay, so first thing is what? So I'm going to repeat back the question. The Spanish conquistador stories affected the Virginia colonists. Why? Because, remember, because after why, they fed into the Virginia dream of wealth without work. How? And then here's your examples. By creating the expectation of easy gold in a servile population such as we see in this evidence X, Y, and Z. right? Okay, what, why, how. Okay, now I'm going to do some games, like I said, and you're going to have to do them by yourself, but they are extremely important, okay? They're not just games for game's sake. The reason why I do games and activities is because, again, like I said, I have my teaching credential from Dominguez, and I believe very much in these theories, but if I just, let's say, gave you something to read, you pretty much would remember about 10% after 2 weeks. If I lectured to you, you remember 20. If I showed you a video, 30. If you watched a video, watch a demonstration, you probably remember 50. If you participate in a discussion, or maybe like you answer back my questions, you remember 70. And if we do a skit, right, or maybe like a lab thing, you probably never ever forget that. So we remember about 90% of that. So just passively, listening to a lecture, that's not what I do, okay? We do very much involved activities. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is you're going to answer these questions. This is introducing yourself, okay? So your name, what's your academic goals? Do you have any historic interest for this time period? A lot of people put wars down, but maybe some other things too, like you see. What has helped you during the COVID crisis? Any academic challenges I should know about, which of course will remain confidential? And what's one thing you'd like for me to know about you? Some students like to say, I want you to know I'm a really hard worker. Okay, this is not a job interview, all right? I just want to know what are you interested in? Okay, now after you're done doing that, you can go back in a minute or stop the tape, stop the YouTube video. The next thing you're going to do is create a thesis. So this is the example. A thesis statement should include the answers to the what, why, and how questions. For example, if I said, what's your favorite vacation spot? So I'm repeating back the question. My favorite vacation spot is New York City. Why? Okay, this is super important. If you don't answer in this way, I can't give you the credit. Okay, it's not just me finding out about you. I really need you to follow the structure. Okay, I'm seeing, are you paying attention to the directions? So here's a big general statement because it has many attractions suitable for my family. You see, I don't have any details in there yet, right? I just have a big general statement. And then how is going to be such as great restaurants, entertainment, and a lot of history. So you need to give at least 2 examples. Okay, you got it? So you're repeating back the question. And that's going to be in a minute. I'm going to give you 10 questions in just a minute. Not to answer this question. It's going to be some other questions. Okay, so repeat back the question. Give me a general statement if you want credit for this. And then give me several examples. Okay, now these are 10 questions I need you to answer 2. You do not need to answer 10, all right? So choose 2 of these, and you need to repeat back the question, give a general statement, and then give some examples. And that's how you get credit for the second activity. And it's called creating a thesis. Okay, question 3, I need you to read this on your own, okay? And then what I want you to do is look at the second paragraph, and it'll explain why we do Nasarema. Okay, so maybe actually stop the tape for a second and read these 2 things, okay? Okay, now, after you're done reading this is, again, super important, okay? But pretend you're like an alien or someone from another culture or age, not like I mean an alien, like a space alien, okay? And give 2 examples of our present-day culture, which will surprise you. If you're new to our country, you have an advantage. What especially struck you when you first arrived? Okay, now, something I need to say. A lot of students like using this time to totally bash our country. And I have hundreds of students. They all do these games. I don't want to read any more of those. Okay, I want something a little lighter, more fun. What's quirky about our culture? If you give me some bashing thing, please, I don't know how much credit I'm going to give you because really it's very depressing. Okay, I'm reading hundreds, like I said. So please think of quirky things. Okay, I don't need to get a sermon today. I just want quirky stuff. You'll have plenty of time. We talk nonstop about how screwed up our country is, but this is not the time or place here, okay? Quirky, strange, weird, not what you hate about our country, okay? All right, last one is called evidence, and what I want you to do is first pick 3 items and write them down, and I'm going to trust you, okay? Okay, now I'm going to go on to the next one. I've trusted you that you've picked 3 items. Okay. So after you pick your 3 items, create a crime scene in which your 3 items may be the victim, the perpetrator, the weapon, or just evidence found on the scene. Don't hurt any children, and please describe your scenario. Okay. So believe it or not, we're done with the first video. You have 2 more for this week, and then usually you'll have 2 a week. But I introduced the class. I told you who I am. Why did they let me teach this class? We talked a bit about the syllabus, which please go back, I forgot to tell you this, and look at the due dates, okay? It's all laid out there for you. It's in the under syllabus, right? And we talked about Blackboard a little bit. We talked about ideas, creating a thesis, Nostrum, and evidence. Okay, now if you remember this, I also asked you to write this down, and it was skills you're going to be learning in this class. You actually just did all these things. Now, normally in a classroom situation, I can get a group of 4 or 5, and you all come up with ideas. Then you have to synthesize those information. You have to take all of your ideas and make them into one answer. That's synthesize. Analyze evidence means use evidence in like a different form, which you exactly did with the evidence discussion. Build an argument. You did that with the back and forth, creating a thesis, and also with the evidence. Constructing a comparative analysis. You did that with the creating a thesis, evaluating perspective and prejudice, and you did that with Nostrum. Okay. And that is it. So welcome to the class, you guys. You got 2 more videos on Native Americans, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know you all. Thank you very much.